What's going on, YouTube? This is your melanated warrior, Haywood Heinous, and this is another installment of Facts Over Feelings. Leave your feelings at the door so we can get to the facts. And we got a bomb! No, I don't play no games. Alright, and so this is courtesy. If y'all want to thank me for this video this early, because I was going to wait a few more days until I did one on radiation, because the radiation one is going to be off the charts. Like I told y'all before, I haven't even started yet. I haven't even dropped the jewel that I wanted to drop on y'all so far. But you know, when my queens, they request something, you know, I always got to do something with my queens. Say, look, I need you to, you know, bring out some information on this, because they're like, okay, we seem to be disproportionately affected by this, and many of us are, unfortunately, because we don't understand what its what its principal concern is regarding this organism, and its principal concern is to make sure that it consumes carbon. Remember, we already said that the melanin molecule is C18H10N2O4. More than half the atoms of our melanin molecule is made of carbon. Yeast want carbon. You are lunch. That's what you need to know. All right. So this is courtesy of Katina Williams. So she was like, you know, what's up with them saying that this herpes is incurable and all of this different stuff? Let's see first, you know, and then let me preface this by saying, like, look, I'm not providing you with any medical cure. There's no such thing as a cure. I'm not any medical advice. Go to your local Blanco scientist for all of that. Contact your local Blanco physician, and they should be able to tell you what's going on. But for purposes of scholastic inquiry, you know, we're inquiring from a scholastic perspective. We want to see what's going on. We want to compare this information to what they tell us, to the research that they got going on, and then I'm gonna allow you to draw your own conclusion. Remember when I said, when you're at the intersection or the crossroads of common sense and intelligence, please choose common sense hands down all of the time. So let's get into it. First, we're gonna see what the Blancos say about it, right? We're gonna read a couple articles from some health sources and stuff, from some resources that they put out there for you to be, for you to get some clarity. And we're gonna see, this first one is from Healthline. Healthline, all right, and it says, what do yeast infection sores look like? Because a lot of people, you know, once they get a yeast infection or they get herpes or something like that, so-called herpes, and and these yeast infections, they don't know if it's a yeast infection or they don't know if it's herpes. They're scared at first, and then so you have to get tested to know sometimes, because the doctors can't even distinguish it unless they test for it many times. So this is, so we'll get into that, and we'll see, and then we'll figure out if that's really actually the case. What do yeast infection sores look like? Blisters and sores are both possible symptoms of a yeast infection. A sore is defined as a raw or painful spot. A blister is defined as a small bubble of skin that's filled with either fluid or air. You can determine which you have by examining the area closely. Yeast infection sores can look extremely similar to sores from other conditions such as herpes. A yeast infection sore is usually accompanied by a rash and redness of your skin. These sores may appear anywhere. Now you're going to hear this a lot. Let's repeat this. Yeast infection sores can look extremely similar to sores from other conditions such as herpes. We're going to figure out why that's so. We got to do some investigations. Now, this is from Fast Med Blog. Printed, article came out November 11th, 2015. Okay? Bang. Can herpes cause yeast infection? So you see all of this confusion, right? And so, they're acting like you're asking this question and you're confused. We're going to see that both parties may be equally confused. Or somebody's lying. I don't know. Let's figure out. Let's read. Can herpes cause yeast infections? Although the symptoms are extremely similar, there is no correlation linking genital herpes and yeast infections. In fact, genital herpes and yeast infections are two very different problems. Now remember that, two very different problems. Genital herpes is generally a sexually transmitted disease, although it can be contracted in other ways and is incurable. Yeast infections are caused by an overgrowth of fungus in the vagina and can typically be easily treated. All right. This is what they're saying. Now we're going to read down a little bit, right? Same article. Although similar, there are some distinct differences between the symptoms of genital herpes and yeast infections, including genital herpes typically causes small blisters, while yeast infections do not. Now, they already read from other articles. They actually can, but, you have to get tested to be for sure. Yeast infections often cause a white and clumpy discharge, while genital herpes does not. Treatment options. Because the symptoms are so similar. Look at these crackers. It is a good idea to see a medical professional in order to determine their cause. Remember, go to your local Blanco scientist. Treatment for herpes and yeast infections are vastly different, and if left untreated, each can lead to complications. Treatment for herpes typically includes antiviral medications to reduce discomfort caused by the symptoms and prevent spread of the disease to others. That's how they make it different through these antiviral medications. But what we've already established through the Blanco, ain't no such thing as a virus. I'm sorry. From what the conspiracy theorists state, ain't no such thing as a virus. Okay? But that's what allows them to make that distinction, amongst other things, and we'll bring that up. Now, Healthline. Healthline. And I mean, this Blanco got some letters behind her name. Medically reviewed. So this article was medically reviewed by Cynthia Cobb, DNP, APRN, WHNP, BCFAANP. I mean, this bitch, man, she got an alphabet behind her name. These Blanco scientists be cracking me up. Written by Tessa Sawyers, updated on May 30th, 2019. Okay, let's read some of it. Overview. Yes, you can get yeast infection sores. So now remember, this is updated. Remember the last article said, well, yeah, typically you don't get yeast infection sores. See how they're always in conflict with one another? This is the reason why, as a people and anybody else who's affected, regardless of whatever persuasion they're from, are always so confused by the information that is disseminated by the medical community. But anyways, let's read on. But they're not common in most yeast infections. Sores or blisters usually form from other skin conditions, such as a rash, that stem from the yeast infection. If you have sores or blisters, you should see your doctor to make sure they're not caused by a more serious condition, such as herpes. All right. So really, how did all of this come about? We talked about the virus, how virus came up a little bit, and we had mentioned DEMETRI Ivanovsky, but he was the one who actually did the filament test, right? But the actual guy who came up with it first was a guy by the name of Adolf Meyer. So Adolf Meyer in 1882, he had came up with this idea. Now, mind you, it hadn't been substantiated. This is what he thought, what he speculated. It was called mosaic disease. It was from plants. Now, mind you, these Blancos who can't be out in nature had said, Mother Nature's sick. So remind you, it wasn't even you first who they said was sick. They said Mother Nature was. So by default, black people, you would have to be sick because what is your primary source of nutrients? Mother Nature. So if they said Mother Nature got viruses first, now mind you, up to date, it's about 900 viruses that plants have. Plants were the first one with viruses, not even human beings. So, what happens is, DEMETRI Ivanovsky and another guy by the name of what is his name? Let me see if I probably got it. Martinus Bejernik. Martinus Bejernik was his name. They did these filament tests. Okay? And these filament tests, basically they were taking the sap from the tobacco plant. And what they found out was the sap that had the virus in it was causing other tobacco plants to get sick. Right? So this is when the term virus had came about, because of this conclusion that they had drawn. Right? So this is interesting simply because we had already talked about the dates. When they had actually, began to learn more and science began to continue to keep changing. But I'm going to just get right to the meat of it because I wanted to get into some symbolism too as well, because this is going to shock you. All right. Now, what you have to understand is that what do trees primarily, besides providing shade, besides basically powering this whole matrix, because we know that fossil fuels are what? They come from two sources: decomposition of animals and trees. Okay, that's where our fossil fuels supposedly come from, right? That's what Blanco science says. So they not only power this whole matrix, they're also home for what? Birds. Why are birds so important? I'm glad you asked. Because what do we know that birds do? And we get so upset when they do it to our vehicles. They poop. And what's in bird poop? Funguses. Yeast. Okay? So if they pooping, guess what they pooping on? Leaves of plants. And so the plants have this ability to protect themselves from the sap that they secrete. A lot of you know this is turpentine. You see what I'm saying? So, but, this is a way that the plant protects itself, or the trees protect themselves, right? So this is, by convenience, They had to make up something that you couldn't see, I couldn't see, or that we couldn't substantiate on our own because we don't have the facilities, we don't have the technology, etc. So they came up with this, unknown infectious agents. Got to be something else. We're excluding fungus. We're excluding yeast. No, it can't be that, even though we know it's all around and it's everywhere. No, it just can't be that. It's got to be something else because they wanted it to be something else. How do we know that? Now, side note, if you work with plants to any degree, especially if you work with growing indoors, like marijuana, any plants indoors, a lot of people use fertilizers, right? One of the most popular fertilizers is bat guano. Oh, we gonna get to that. I'm about to shock y'all, as I always do. Sea guano from bird, all different type of birds, their feces, right? But the thing where you have to be careful, and I tell this to all growers when I'm teaching them how to grow, is that when you're putting that bat guano or any type of bird, because guano just means shit, bat shit, it's bat shit, or you're using bird feces or poopings or droppings, you want to make sure that you don't even breathe in. Just hold your breath for as long as you got to do it. 2, mix it in the middle of the soil. Don't put it on the top, because if it dries, guess what happens? You can get something called histoplasmosis. Now, I'm going to read the definition of histoplasmosis because I wrote it down. Histoplasmosis is a respiratory disease that may be fatal. It results from a fungus growing in dried bird poopings. It is dimorphic. Now, dimorphic means that, it can be 2 different distinct things. And what are those 2 different distinct things? It can be a fungus or a yeast, in yeast form, or it can be a filamentous or in filamentous form. Now, filamentous means like amorphic. Amorphic means like abnormal. And then so when yeast is in its abnormal form, it's in the form of spores. That's like its vegetative state. And it spreads in 3-dimensional form. Okay, what's 3-dimensional? We already know that. Height, length, and width. Okay? So it can get, obviously increase in height, width, and length. But it's not actually reproducing sexually. It's just reproducing in its vegetative state. It's basically merging in. It's like a transformer. It is merging with spores and everything like that. It takes on a completely different form. What you would call herpes. Let's see if this is the case. Is your boy Heru reaching? Do I ever reach? I told you these Blanco's arms too short to box with God. Now we already displayed. Now, remember dimorphic. Remember filamentous. Remember those 2 concepts. Let's read. This is from a paper from some scientists who did a lot of this, this is from Slovakia. So a lot of these names, I ain't gonna hold you up. I might butcher because I can't these names, but it says this is the fungi isolated and quantified from bat guano and in air in Harmonica in Driny caves in Slovakia. Journal of Cave and Curse Studies. This is volume 78, number 1, page 41 through 49. Okay? I would dig these crackers up from the grave to prove my point. Do you know I be digging? Let's read. Now I'm gonna read kind of slow, not only for 2 reasons. One, so you can understand me, and plus I have to enlarge it because, as you can see, the print is very, very small. And they like to talk in scientific jargon, so I don't want to stumble over my words, but we're gonna get to it. So the title is Fungi Isolated and Quantified from Bat Guano and Air in Harmonica and Driny Caves. Slovakia. These are the name of the caves. Harmonica, and Driny. Those are the caves. Let's read. This study is the first mycological evaluation of bat guano and the air around it in Harmonica and Driny caves in Slovakia. These caves are the most important underground localities of bats in Slovakia. Samples were collected in July 2014 and cultivated for fungi. Harmonica cave had been 7 species of filamentous fungi and 1 yeast-like fungus isolated from bat guano, compared to 6 species of filamentous fungi and guano from Driny cave. Air samples from Harmonica cave had 12 species of fungi compared to 9 species from Driny cave. Fungal density was higher in guano from Driny cave than from Harmonica cave. The pattern was reversed with fungi from the air. Fungal density in air from Harmonica was higher than that from Driny cave. Penicillium granulatum was the most frequently isolated fungal species, except in the guano of Driney Cave, where muco, I believe that's, it gets kind of, I can't really see that. I believe that's Himalis, was most common. Bat guano is a very good substrate. Now let me hear it. Bat guano is a very good substrate for the development and survival of fungi in the caves. And it could be a reservoir of fungi, even harmful for bats. However, air samples from both caves contain more species of fungi than the bat guano, because the majority of fungi are transferred to underground ecosystems with air bioaerosols from the external environment. Why is this important? Why am I even saying this? Am I going to be able to make a connection? Do you know I ain't even hit y'all with the lightning bolt yet? Why is this important? You know why this is important? Because if you have herpes and they give you medication, let me put this up for a second. Let me see which other, do I have more articles to read? Yeah, I got a couple more articles there, but I can hold off on that for a second. The active ingredient in herpes medication is acyclovir. Why is this important? This is why I'm telling you that the niggas you listen to, if they not Full Metal Alchemists, they can't help you. Because who runs the industry? These doctors, they are told by the pharmaceutical industries what to prescribe. They know little about the medication. Very little. A chemist is really actually your doctor. The doctor is just there to take the brunt. He's the middleman. He don't know shit. This is why I'm telling you that chemistry or chemist runs that industry. That's why you gotta be a full alchemist in order to decode that shit. Let's continue. Acyclovir is the active ingredient. Why is this important, Heru? Why is this important to y'all? Because acyclovir is a synthetic form of guanosine. Why is that important, Heru? Because guanosine is bat guano. Bat shit. They are literally treating your herpes with bat shit. Oh my God. You see the bodies around me? I am killing you niggas. And oh, just in case you need the Blanco scientist to tell you, let's read this article. I know y'all like, you should have been a lawyer. You digging up, man. I dig up, man. Come on. This is why I tell niggas when they be in the comment section talking that shit. Look, I turned 41 this summer, right? 3 months, turned 41. Some of you niggas was babies when I was working out this alchemical shit. Which means what? That while I was writing out formulas, you niggas was still spitting up formula. This is Encyclopedia Britannica. Let's read. Guanine, an organic compound belonging to the purine group, a class of compounds with a characteristic two-ring structure composed of carbon and nitrogen atoms and occurring free or combined in such diverse natural sources as guano, the accumulated excrement and dead bodies of birds, bats, and seals, sugar beets, yeast, and fish scales. It is a component of nucleic acids. And why is this important? Because those are the cell constituents that store and transmit hereditary traits. Remember how I told you they treating you with different forms of yeast. And remember, this yeast can be what? Dimorphic. It can be actually in the form of yeast, or it can be in the form of spores, like herpes and all of that different shit. I am killing you niggas. They are treating your herpes with bat shit if you're on their medication. So what do most people do? Now, I'm not recommending what you do. Like, I'm not giving you medical advice. But if it was me, what I would do, obviously, you know, I would flood my body with antifungal, and then I would get rid of any fungus and yeast that I take in to do what? Turn the yeast, because eventually they're gonna be in the body and your body's gonna take charge. Recognize that what? That it's foreign. It's going to somehow transform itself back to yeast so that you can easily get rid of it. Because it's dimorphic. It can exist in two forms, two distinct different forms. That's why they have to test you for which one the fuck it is. Ain't no such thing as a Blanco fucking scientist. Because you know what they about to do? Because you believe in them? Because you think they scientists? And you think that everything that they do is good? Change in America. They just came out with an article a couple days ago. What does that say? 750 million of the first genetically modified mosquitoes to be released in Florida. The effort aims to fight a recent dengue outbreak. If I was you niggas in Florida, I would get the fuck out of Florida. Rabies, quarantine, now they releasing 750 million genetically modified mosquitoes, telling y'all it ain't nothing to worry about. And niggas say, well, I can't move. Okay, well, if you believe in the narrative of slavery, then our ancestors moved when they didn't have shit. They were supposedly on plantations. You go anywhere you can be free. That's what the fuck you do. Don't wait till you heard the same shit expressing. God forbid, I hate that, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina. You know what I'm saying? That you seen the impending storms. Niggas didn't get out. They thought that these crackers was playing. You thought they was going to rescue you? Just to show you another article right quick, just to show you how, the reason why people get so confused. And I'm going to jump back and forth and make it all make sense. Now, this was from just a random article. I don't know what it is, but everybody knows this is what's going on. It says, China has unveiled their new deadly destroyer warship that can shoot down ballistic nuke missiles and satellites, redefining water-based warfare and putting the U.S. on high alert. Whoa, they beefing. I didn't even give a fuck of a war break out between these motherfuckers because it is what it is. They understand sacrifice. White people showed you even with a Civil War, they were war. The deadliest war all the way until the Civil War, all the way until the Vietnam War was the Civil War for Blancos. They had lost more Blancos to that war than they did all other wars combined up into the Vietnam War. That's what you have to know. They know something about a sacrifice. They will actually play the theater all the way out. They will actually go to war together just to prove to you that they hate each other. But why do they not hate each other? This is from Viable TV. Okay? U.S., China agree to tackle climate crisis with urgency. Let's read. China and the United States, the world's two biggest carbon polluters, have agreed to cooperate with other countries to fight climate change. The joint statement on Sunday followed 2 days of talks between Chinese climate envoy Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart John Kerry in Shanghai. Now, that name I may have butchered, but it is what it is. The United States and China are committed to cooperating with each other and with other countries to tackle the climate crisis, which must be addressed with the seriousness and urgency that it demands, their statement says. So they ready to blow each other's head off in the high seas. Oh, but hey, we got to block out that sun. See, let me tell you something, man. Y'all not aware of the symbolism. Remember the Batman versus Superman movie? Now you see the point of the bat. They've been studying this bat for a long time. Vector species, rabies, it bites you. They're using the shit literally the shit from the bat to give you different organisms. Because remember, yeast competes with other yeast. Remember, they make yeast out of insulin. I mean, genetically modified version of yeast out of insulin. They make it out of, they genetically modify it and use it as the HPV vaccine. Genetically modified it to use it to combat age-related macular degeneration. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Okay? And so, the thing is, who do we know to be the real Superman? We've already disclosed this from your real religion. Remember, I'm a Full Metal Alchemist. What makes steel? Carbon, when you mix carbon with iron, it makes steel. Then we go over the molecular formula of melanin, C18H10N2O4. I have carbon in my skin. Iron is in my blood. Therefore, I am the real fucking man of steel. So they were telling you, and who is Batman? Batman ain't got no superpowers. He got all these gadgets and gizmos. That's the real Blanco. But see, he wasn't going to make a black Superman because then it would have been too easy for you to put this shit together. So that's the final war. He showed, that's why that movie, he didn't care if the movie was garbage. Movie was straight trash. But it was all about symbolism. You see what I'm saying? That's why I said stop participating in his rituals. Now we know that sugar feeds yeast. And what's the most popular holiday to feed your yeast? The spirit inside you? Because remember what this Blanco calls it. Wine and spirits. Okay? So he sends your children out as he's been feeding his yeast in them because he's been pumping them with the bread, all of the pizza. Notice in school, pizza day. That's one of the most popular days in school. He want to fucking shove that yeast down your fucking throat. And then on Halloween, Devil's Night, he gives you the candy for free. You gotta understand, this Blanco don't never give away nothing free without a trick to it. Ever. See, and if you notice a while back when we was talking about the water and Flint and all of that different shit, remember I was telling you how a Blanco scientist, doctor, she got real sick. And she had realized what? She's like, damn, I couldn't get better. So she did what? Delved into some alchemy, went to the periodic table of elements, and saw that fluorine and iodine is in the same family. So she realized that when your body doesn't have enough iodine, it takes up fluorine or fluoride compounds. Because they're similar. Okay? So she realized when she started treating it in that way, she was able to get better. And she was a damn doctor. That's why I told you, they make sure to separate their doctors from chemistry. When they in school, they just take it to pass tests. You don't see doctors memorizing that periodic table of elements. They ain't got no use for it, they claim. They leave that up to the drug manufacturers or the real alchemists. Just like I told you before, what's in our family? Lead. You have carbon, you have silica, you have germanium, you have tin, and you have lead. Lead is at the lowest in our family. And then these crackers want to sit up here and say, these Blancos will say, oh, we don't know why we make our bullets from lead. Now we've already substantiated that we as a carbon-based people, we absorb lead 600% more than white folks. So even if you want to survive gunshots, you already absorbed the lead. And we know how toxic is lead to the brain. How toxic lead is to the brain. You think they're not designing weapons? They design their whole weapon around you. All their weapons are designed against you. And now we know the reason why you are disproportionately affected by that organism. Because you have carbon. See, these Blancos, they only break out because they have, they eat a lot of carbon in the form of, sodas, sugars, the white sugar shit. You know what I'm saying? Then they drink a lot of alcohol. That's why they break out all over the mouth and in that area. But if they don't do that, you can have intercourse with a Blanco and they can give it to you because they're just a reservoir. That yeast will become dimorphic, turn into spores, and then it's like, oh, that looks like a melanin bean inside you. Oh my God, I know I'm just killing you niggas. So you telling me, you had niggas who claim they was intelligent. They've been arguing about this shit on their channels and shit. Ain't even been breaking this shit down halfway. Because I told you these niggas is pseudo. I told you these niggas is pseudo. You not fucking with me on any level. And then, when people, I want to get off into, my next segment is really going to be mind-blowing. I just did this for a mental exercise, just like you warming up. I just warmed up. You know what I'm saying? Anytime my queens reach out to me and they say, hey, Rue, drop a jewel on me. I want to figure out and know what the hell is going on with this. You already know, hey, Rue, coming to, with my sisters. I'm coming running. And the hell with these niggas say talking about, oh, that's simping. No, nigga, fuck you. If I'm simping, that mean the Temptations was simping. Marvin, that's all we did in the 60s was care about our women. And at that time, it just so happened that the relationships between black men and women were at an all-time high. Most of our black men and women were married to each other during that time. And then you got these niggas, oh, black women marriage material. Why they can't get nobody? Because look at the culture. Any affection for our women is called simping. Fuck you niggas. Fuck you niggas and fuck you Blancos. Because one, ain't no such thing as a Blanco scientist. I wish I would go somewhere and a Blanco scientist tell me, look at a chart and be like, you got this and you got that. I laugh in his fucking face. I wouldn't give a fuck what he told me. I laugh in his fucking face because I already know your biological and chemical weapon, the only one to really be worried about is your genetically modified version of rabies, which is this powerful fungus that can go airborne, right? All this different shit. But all of this other shit, but he used that, that was his end game. You know, but all this other shit, this got him to the point where he is right now. Yes, it did. It got him to the point where he is right now. Because what he acts like, you know, is going to help you is actually the very thing that's causing the disruption and disrupting homeostasis within the body. Yeah, I know. But oh, go to your Blanco scientist to see if I'm correct. And I've had chemists be brought before me. I've had doctors be brought before me. You know what they leave with saying? They don't say shit. They just leave scratching their fucking head. Because here at the FOF squad, we know ain't no such thing as a Blanco scientist. And I am killing you niggas. FOF squad.